Deb Kilpatrick, I'm the CEO of Evidation Health here in San Mateo, California. My background is I've spent the last 22 years or so in Silicon Valley in healthcare companies, both large and small, on everything from medical devices and drug delivery implants to genomics and molecular diagnostics and now digital health. Evidation is a really new kind of measurement company that leverages technology from mobile applications and smart things, connected devices, to use that information that's flowing through us every day in our lives for the purposes of medical research. And when we combine that everyday real life data with traditional forms of medical data, what you can do with regard to understanding a disease, understanding pathology, understanding the human condition of being in health or out of health is pretty profound. And we're finding that sleep is particularly important because it is one of the few things that is both a symptom of different conditions and is itself, the subject and topic of many pathologies and disorders. So it's maybe arguably one of the most fascinating types of human behaviors that, is in our daily lives.
The question is there a sleep as a vital sign that we could actually identify at this point based on all these wearables?
Whether it's the links to weight gain or weight loss, whether it's the links to hypertension and cardiometabolic disease, or whether it's just, frankly, the links to mental health and anxiety and depression, and all of those things that then yield resource utilization and economic impact into the U.S. healthcare system. We've never been able to study this at a scale that we can now study this. And when we think about what's possible with the sleep study that we've run with you guys, the work that we can continue to do together, you kind of get overwhelmed very quickly with all of the use cases that arise. What Evidation tries to do is decide and prove prove what's relevant, decide ways to allow the healthcare ecosystem to prove what's relevant and meaningful so that the patient advocacy organizations, the caregivers, and the patients themselves, as well as the manufacturers of products to treat these conditions, are better informed about what it means to have one of them. We have to be able to show the ecosystem what's possible, because I think the reality is this has all moved relatively fast, and healthcare as a part of the economy and as an ecosystem is not used to moving that quickly. And so I think that there is a lot of discussion that needs to happen about the art of the possible. And if people just understand that this is not 5 years from now, this is right now. This was 2017. It's not right, much less 2018 and beyond. And so I think that getting people to understand what these kinds of use cases are capable of doing, and these kinds of technologies are capable of doing, is really important right now, so that the market and the ecosystem understand that we should be demanding. This is not should be the exception. This should be the rule. And that's where I think this work and the patient advocacy organizations leading this work are going to have a huge disproportionate influence on the conversation, right? And I think that we need to make sure that the world understands that you can still do perfectly rigorous clinical research that not only deserves to be published, but if it gets through peer review, which it should be done to withstand, then it should be heralded, not just published in a journal, but heralded as the way that this can and should be done in the future. We've done a little bit of work in rare diseases. The hard thing for us in rare diseases is, if you look at the power of the Evidation platform, it's a scale and geographic distribution power, right? And so when you limit it to very few in very specific singular locations, yes, we can tackle those problems, but is that where we're really going to thrive compared to conditions like sleep apnea or diabetes? No. So as a result, most of our customers ask us to focus in the larger prevalence. What we're learning, right, in general in medicine, what everybody is now learning is that your circadian rhythm is incredibly important. And the thing that affects circadian rhythm, other than food and exercise, is sleep. And it is the one thing that you're supposed to do for the longest period of time every day. And your body is naturally tuned to whether you're doing that or not.
So here's a great question for you. Do you know the #1 indicator of suicide now?
Is it sleep loss?
Insomnia.
Oh,
they
wow.
can pinpoint when people are taken their lives at that time. So what the theory is that if at your most tired, when you should be asleep and your brain should be your dumbest, it's thinking things it shouldn't, and there's no one around to stop you from doing anything. So not depression, but insomnia is the #1 accurate indicator.
Which would explain why in some of our work looking at sleep patterns in self-reported high anxiety and depressive disorder patients, we see so much relationship between the sleep loss and the sleep discontinuity with resource utilization. That would explain part of the reason why in mental health and anxiety. One of the things we did recently in a type 2 diabetes study that I think is really important in terms of showing what you can do with diversity of participation is we did a study that was over 70% female. It was 30% African American. I don't know when in cardiometabolic diseases in my career that we've been able to do studies with 30% African American participation. And so to me, that was incredibly important. And if you looked across the enrolled participants, over 45% of them did not have a college degree. So that's incredibly important because it means that if you don't live next door to an academic medical center and are a white male, you now can be in clinical research too.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
It's so my pleasure.